Now, collections down on the left-hand side are data points. I look at my IT assets as a dynamic collection. These are the movers and shakers. Category locations may change. Your statuses are going to change. Maybe even who it's assigned to is going to change. And all of these fields that you see on top, they are all customizable. I've entered these in based upon conversations that I've had with clients and also with prospects. And adding fields is very simple. You just can come in here and add a field, select, type in your name, type what kind of data type that you want. We have tons to choose from. And then when you click save, that's going to be added here. So you can quickly and easily start putting in that information into the assets collection. Supporting collections like your work orders, which is something Kelly is going to touch on in a minute. You can add that collection, people collection and locations and departments. These are all like supporting collections. You'll see here this little blue link into location. That means my location collection is linked to that. So that way I have information about the name, maybe the address, maybe the point of contact, email. You see we have some GPS. You can even add in a phone number if you want to as well. But these collections support your IT assets. So you know maybe who has them, where are they located? And then you can do things like run filters to understand maybe where all the assets are in maybe New York. And when I click apply, you'll see the statuses and all of those assets that are in the New York location. If I click my saved view, then I'll have the ability to come over on my left-hand side and save view and quickly access this information so I don't have to keep running filters over and over again. Cool thing about saved views is I can share it too. So I can share this with anybody within a role that we've talked about, or even by a specific email address. So the user will have the ability to come in here and just see this saved view. They will be able to change this for right now. We are rolling out the ability to lock this view down so there won't be any changes that are made. So this is how we start really looking at IT assets and getting the specific information that's pertinent to you, because your company is going to be different from somebody else's company, and we're not going to pigeonhole you into what fields need to be created. You make them for yourself. When we look down over here on our forms, which is something that I would like to touch on because this is what Kelly is going to be touching on in a minute, we have created a help desk ticket. This is something that is really helpful for your team to understand quickly and get information into the system. So for example, let's just say that I am Alexander Perez and I have an issue with my laptop. My email can go ahead and populate in here automatically, and I would say I would need a repair. Now, I have a couple of assets that are specifically assigned to me, so I will choose the asset that is assigned to me, and I will say, hey, the microphone is damaged. I can type in the issue, just say, broken. My priority level, dependent on if you'd like to let somebody go ahead and choose a priority level, and then a signature field so that way they can sign, and then it can be assigned to a individual internally so an automated report can go out. And when I submit this, that's going to go directly into my work order collection. So that way I understand more information about what the hardware is, the status of it. Maybe I need to start assigning a technician internally to go ahead and manage that process. Forums are just a really fun way of being able to quickly get the information in that you need so that way you create less friction on the backside, which now with less friction, you have a much higher adoption rate. I was just talking to my director of sales, and we were talking internally about some processes, and he said, hey, if we can create less friction on certain instances in a program we use, we're going to have a higher adoption rate. So this is what we're also trying to do with Asset Panda as well. Other things that you can do in Asset Panda, you can create automations, you can manage your users. We have a slew of integrations from our integration store that you can add in. So if you're using like Entra or Intune, we have Lenovo for warranty information. We do integrations with Zendesk and also with Jira. And hey, to my surprise today, I now see that we do some stuff with Cisco and with Kanji. We didn't have that the other day, so I'm really excited to see that we're continuing to put more integrations into the integration store. So that is really a very high level overview of how we can start looking at Asset Panda and customizing the entire platform for your needs. And to that, I'm going to throw it over to Kelly because she's going to go really in depth now on our topic of the day, which is that service request and work order option that is available.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. Really appreciate you dropping by and giving us that overview. Sets the stage perfectly for where we're going next. So give me 1 second to just share my screen here. And there we go. So you guys should be seeing my Asset Panda instance. And just a quick, so you know where we are a little bit for your orientation a little bit. This particular organization has multiple accounts in it, and each one of these accounts are different businesses with under that corporate umbrella of Tech Turtle. So today we're working in Tortoise Timber Construction, and Tortoise Timber has two modules. First one is their ITAM module, second is their equipment module, but we're focused on their ITAM module. So all of their employees receive technology to use out in the field as part of their construction job. They also sometimes give things to contractors. So contractors may not really they're not internal, right? We don't consider them employees of the company. So we may not treat them the same way as far as Asset Panda is concerned. We may not give them the keys to the castle, as Matthew said, because we want to really refine what they can do and see. But they do have some of our technology. So what I have here, and just show you on the back end here just a little bit, is we've created some collections, we have some forms, some automations that we're going to talk through here today. So I'm going to go up to my account switcher, I'm going to go to Tortoise Timber Construction and into that ITAM, and now we're on the front end of the system, and here's those collections that I had mentioned before. So this is a standard IT build that I would say, pretty common, what we would see from an IT use case. We have some categories built out for some various types of IT equipment. My various locations in the system here are the different jobs that we're working on. And then I have my people who are working for the company here. And then I have my IT assets. Now, one of the things that you'll see within my IT assets is I have some things that are consumables, and then I have other things that are barcoded and serialized assets. And sometimes you'll even see me have a barcode label on my consumables because maybe they're in a bin location. I want to be able to scan those. But a couple prerequisites that we have to have set up in order to do the service request is a few fields that we're really going to need inside the asset collection. So the first one for me is service request. So on my items, when a service request is submitted, I want to know that there's an open service request for this particular item. So I have a service request field, and that's either toggled on yes or no. In addition to that, if we scroll down through my screens here just a little bit and all of my different fields, you'll see some of my assets are assigned. I also do have a handful of other fields that are coming in from those categories that we have. And towards the back of my field collection here, I have things like describing the damage, some date fields, some submission fields, and you'll see some of those pulled to the front as well. Now, one of the other things that I had to create before I could do this work is a service request collection. So let's take a look at what that looks like right now. My service request collection is really a project management slash ticketing system. So what I'm asking is that if my users have a problem with one of their devices, that they submit a service request ticket. And that ticket would generate here inside this collection for me. It will tell me if it's an internal or an external person who's submitting this ticket. Maybe sometimes we even give vendors, for example, a piece of technology in some way, shape, or form, and we want to make sure that we're noting what type of ticket it is. I need to know that submission date, and then I want to know if it's internally who currently has this device. If it is assigned out, that was a mouthful. I want to know who has it currently, a status of the ticket because I can set up forms to manage that process here as well. And then I obviously want to know what the problem is with it and which asset this is linked to. So this is something that's really important. Now, what I've done is create two different service request forms to populate these collections. One of them is the external service request form, and the other one I labeled as internal. Now, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to refer to these as internal and external throughout this entire webinar here today. However, you don't have to use these as internal and external. Quite frankly, you could use both of these for either use case. It really just depends on how you want to set them up. So, these two forms run very differently. And one thing I always love about Asset Panda is that there's more than one way to solve a problem. So I purposefully built both of these because I want to show you both of the workflows so you could kind of make a decision of which one might work best for your end users. So let's start with that external service request form. Let me walk you through this. If I click on that form, this is asking me to collect information about who is submitting the form first. So the first thing I need to do is type in my name up at the top, and that's because I'm just using text fields here, and I'm going to submit my email as well. And then I want to say what's wrong with my item. So maybe my charging port is not working properly. Oh, not charging. Perfect. Now, when I come down here, if I was on a mobile device, I could just scan my barcode of the asset that I would be working with, or I have potential to look at this asset list and select an asset from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab asset six. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure what asset six is. And that's something that we can tackle here just a little bit. But if it is something that I would be using, you can see that that information is going to populate. So we can always come in here and grab something else. Let's just grab asset four. There we go. That's a phone. That's kind of perfect. And we'll go ahead and hit submit. Now, once I create that form and I submit that form, you're going to see some of my toast notifications up at the top start to run here. Now, the first one is, hey, that form was submitted. So if I go back over to my module and notice I had a couple more things happening here and might see the screen refresh a little bit, that's all my fun stuff happening in the back. If I jump over to service request here, I'm going to see that I have now a new external service request. So that form was designed to create a new record in a collection, in that service request collection. And the information that I populated on that form is now populated within this collection in this line item. Now and I want to show you this real quick. So we're going to jump into the back end just so I can show you this external service request form. Again, creating new records in that particular collection. So that is a really simple way to generate service requests. Now, something else that we want to look at in the back end here is from a roles and permissions end, that particular form, because it's just generating that record for you, is actually tied to that particular collection. Now, if I wanted to use this from an external standpoint, let's say I had that vendor or that contractor that I really don't want them to be able to come into Asset Panda and see all of our stuff because they're not really part of our company. Or maybe I have end users that I really want to simplify their process. I don't want them to have to come in and filter through information to find things. I just want them to be able to come directly to that one form and fill it out. That's completely doable with our custom permissions. So if I come into this custom permission role here, just so you can see what I built, this I set up as that external service request, looking at this particular module and only looking at forms access within my various collections. So I could even take this down further and say I'm only giving them access to submit a form in service request. So you can say, hey, this user, they can't view, they can't create, they can't edit anything, but they can submit forms in this one collection and one collection only. And we can take away all ability to do anything else, still give them the ability to submit that form down here, as well as that ability to scan the barcodes. So at a bare minimum, when they go into their app, or if they logged into Asset Panda, they would not see any data in the system, but they would just see that one form that they would be able to submit. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And that is a really simple way of creating service requests. Now, with that piece too, we had some automations that ran. So if I take a look at this one, the first automation is that whenever a record is created in service request, then I want to, I used the wrong one, sorry. Notify of new ticket is where I was going. Whenever a record is created in a service request, then we wanted to send a notification to somebody. And one of the nice things here is that maybe we have a service manager that we need to know, let them know whenever a ticket's been created. Our automations can do that for you. That new record can automatically trigger that automation. So not only is that information populated there, but now we can notify somebody of that ticket creation has taken place. In addition to that particular automation, I also created a dashboard here. So all of my service requests by status are going to show here and requests by assignment. So right here from this dashboard, I can see that I have 4 tickets to do, but only one of them is currently um, assigned out to somebody as far as the device itself. So let's add a widget and say that we want to see the assets by assignment in that particular service request. Or sorry, we want to see tickets by assignment. I could spell today. So I'm going to look in that ITAM module. My data source is going to be my service requests. I'm going to actually go ahead and make this a pie chart. And then what we're going to do is come down here and say assign to. So I want to see yeah, that is my assigned to. Sorry about that. I had to think about that for a second. I wanted to see my tickets by that assignment themselves. So we'd be able to see those particular tickets. I happen to use Amy for both pieces of that, I think. But you could create those dashboards as well. So you can see that information here in that visual format that Matthew was talking about earlier. Now, I will say that is a really simple use case, but it's great for those external folks because, again, we don't want to give them too much information inside our platform. And it's a really simple way for people to put in those service requests. So I also have seen this done. Maybe if we talk about equipment, maybe we have inspectors that go out and do equipment for us or do checks in some way, calibrations. There's tons of ways that we can use that external piece. Maybe you have customers. Maybe, I've seen some situations where the person using Asset Panda has their own customers and those customers need to submit service requests back to them. So these are all really great opportunities to create that external system. Now, let's take a look at that internal system. But before I do, I just want to make sure there aren't any questions. All right, I don't see anything, so I'm going to go ahead and jump through. So let's go back to Tortoise Timber Construction. We'll go back into our ITAM. And this time we're going to look at this more from an internal perspective and a slightly different workflow. So the use case here is we have an IT asset that's assigned to somebody. And let's just say this asset one, let's see, asset 2 right here, this docking station. So this asset is going to get assigned to somebody first. So for our purposes, let me just go ahead and jump in here real quick. And I'm going to change this to assigned. And I'm going to give it to somebody different though. We're going to give it to Leonard. And we'll hit save on that. So now we have this assigned out to Leonard. So Leonard realizes that there's something wrong with his docking station. So he comes into his app and he hits that internal service request and he selects the item that's assigned to him and he hits continue. And because he's already selected that item internally, and because it's already assigned to him, we're already collecting some of that information here. So now he can come here and describe the damage. And maybe on the docking station, one of the ports isn't working again. And he's going to say that he is submitting this himself. Now that I've seen this too, which is one of the reasons why I put the submission here, is that for 2 reasons. The first reason is sometimes we have people who submit on behalf. What if Leonard actually makes a phone call to somebody and like his HR, and then HR once it creates that record for him? That's a possibility. The other piece is that whenever we surface information in a collection, we have more power with that information. So I want to surface that submission date. I also want to which I have right here, and I want to surface who is submitting it and Leonard's email because once it's in that collection, I can now use that to notify. So I'm going to create automations based off of this information as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit submit on this. And that same rule is going to apply. It's going to process, and we're going to wait just a second because we're going to see the screen kind of flash here a little bit. So we're going to get another ticket that's going to pop in here as an internal ticket, and that's actually going to trigger a couple more automations. So we'll just be patient for just a second and let that do that. And here's our internal ticket now. And notice that we had our flashes as those automations start to trigger. So we have the same information. We now have this submission date. We know who this laptop is currently assigned to, who submitted the ticket, what the status of the ticket is. We have the ticket notes, and we know which asset this is. And if there was any other information populated, we would get that as well. Now, whenever this ticket ran off, we saw that extra flash, and that's because there's a few other automations that are tied to this one. So we jump back over to our automations. First off, I have emails going out whenever I notify a new ticket. But if I take a look at this internal service ticket automation, whenever that record is updated using a form in our IT assets collection, I want to generate that service request is equal to yes. And at the same time, I want to create a record in service request. So with that particular form, because we were selecting the asset first, we weren't just generating a ticket and creating a new record. We were saying, hey, this particular asset has a problem. So if we go back into Tortoise Timber Construction, look at our ITAM module and our asset collection, notice that this asset, asset two, now has this little pink tag on it. And it's saying that even though this asset is assigned, Leonard still has the docking station. He didn't turn it in anywhere. It's still in his possession, but we need to let somebody know that this has a problem. So we're keeping it with him. And we're also noting that with our service request here. Now, what we've done is update this particular piece and at the same time created that service request record that's over here in the service request collection, where our IT manager or whoever might manage these can do so from here. With that as well, if we go back over to our dashboards, we're going to see now that we have those tickets in place. So now we have 5 to do. We have some different assignments. I think I actually, Matthew, I think I may have forgotten to put the assign for the ticket into the collection, which is why I'm confusing myself just a little bit here. So I apologize on that one, folks. But we can start to create a lot of different dashboards here with the information that we have back in the collection. And I want to show you a few other things in that collection as well. So if we come back into those service requests, oh, wrong one, Tortoise Timber, and then my ITAM, and come back into the service request, one of the nice things that we could do here is start to filter and group. So maybe I just want to see all of my internal tickets. I can come in here and I can filter that by ticket type is equal to internal. I could also clear that and come in here and say, you know what? I just want to group these by that, maybe when they were submitted or maybe who submitted that ticket. So I can look at this information in a variety of ways. Now, all of my records were submitted today because I built this morning, but you can see that I would be able to really start to look and filter this information in ways that would be helpful to me. I could also sort these by that internal versus external. And why is that super helpful? Well, I mean, obviously, if we wanted to track those tickets differently, that would be one way, right? But one of the other things that I hear a lot with service tickets is that we want to monitor the time on service tickets. And maybe we have different SLAs for somebody internally. Like if we are working with customers, we obviously want to make sure that we're meeting that customer's need. So maybe if we are working with medical equipment, for example, we have a contract with them to turn this around within 48 hours. If that's the case, then we definitely want to make sure we know which of these tickets should be prioritized. You could even create this as a priority level within that ticket. Because remember, your fields are as customizable as you want them to be. Whatever you want to track and how you want to track it is how you can do that. Now, one of the other things that has come up is, well, how do I know when I have tickets that are maybe nearing that SLA date? Well, that's a great question, and we can do that as well. If we come back into automations, one of the automations I have are my tickets that are open 10 days. So 10 days is my warning sign at my company. I want to know anytime a ticket is hitting that 10-day mark. And I could set these up at 10 days, at 15 days, whatever it is. What I've decided to do is say every day at 10:05 a.m. from now until the end of time, I want to know when a submission date is 10 days old. I want to know when a ticket is 10 days old. And I want you to send me a PDF of all of those every single day. So as a service manager, I can get that report very easily and be able to say, hey, right in my inbox, I haven't even gotten to work yet, but I also, well, maybe he has at 10 a.m. Maybe we set it at 6. And then at that point, even though he might be on the golf course at 6 a.m., he's still getting that PDF saying these are the tickets that are hitting those SLAs or getting really close to hitting those numbers we don't like. So we can do those daily type reports. And once we create this as a saved view or even try to filter it in any way, we can utilize that also from a dashboard perspective. So those dashboards are a great way to keep you up and running on those. Now, one of the things I haven't quite built out here yet, but Matthew was showing here on the dashboard, really nice, would also be managing out the tickets. So we started talking a lot about how we submit those tickets, but how do we actually manage these service requests from um, from that IT manager's perspective? So I would say that that's a really great place to give a quick pause, make sure there are no questions, and then we'll kind of go down there and do some of that building together a little bit. And I don't think I see any questions. So perfect. So what we're going to do is take off our hat from our end user, and we're going to put on the IT manager hat now. So I come into this particular service request collection, and I want to know what am I supposed to do? What's my next step here? So I can do a couple different things. So the first one is we realized that we didn't really assign out that ticket. So let's go ahead and create that field. And right here next to this type, I actually want to make this and I want to add that field to the left of this. And I want to just say ticket assignment because I already have that assigned to. And I'm going to pull this from another collection. I'm going to say this is coming from my people collection. And I just need a name here, nothing else, because I just want to know the person who's working on it. We have a small team. I can surface additional fields like their phone number, or email if I needed to, but we all work together pretty closely. So as an IT manager, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. Oh, let me clear that filter off there too. There we go. All right, so I now have the ticket assignment field. Now I can come in here as an IT manager because I have admin permissions. I can access this and give this a ticket number if I really wanted to, and just name it a number one. One of the other things that I can do is create a form to update this particular ticket on a day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead and do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to say this is an update existing record form. And we're just going to say update ticket. And we're going to use this in our service request collection. I'm going to hit save and continue. And now we're in our form build. So the first thing that I want to make sure that I'm updating is going to be that SR number. I want to see what I want to create that SR number for each one of these tickets. I also want to assign this ticket to somebody. So we need to come down to that ticket assignment field and pull that ticket assignment. And then I also want to, I may want to update my status of my ticket. Now that's completely up to you. We don't have to update that just yet. Maybe assigned is still in the to-do stage. So we could leave it there if we wanted to. We also have the option of putting that status in just like so. Now, maybe I want to give a little more color. In particular, the SR number, pretty easy. Any of my guys who put that in, they're going to get that one. Ticket assignment, they're just going to assign it out. That's easy too. But the status does leave a little bit of a gray area. Maybe I need to give a little more information here. What status should they have it in at what point in time? Or when, maybe I want them to choose a particular status right now. So I could say, or another key point here too, is that updating ticket can happen at a variety of different touch points. I can update the ticket to say it's in progress. I could update it to say it's completed. So I can surface information and see what the previous status has been. If I click edit here, I'm going to show the current value here. So when somebody's filling out this form, they're going to know what the current value is. So if this is in the to-do stage, they can leave it in to-do, but maybe I need them to update it. So right here, without changing the field name, I can say, please update to the current status. And I can provide that little more information in that field there. Also, if I needed to, I can always add some additional helper text. And I might say something like assigned equals to do, just so they know that they're not supposed to put anything, they're not supposed to put that in progress until they actually start working on it. Now, if I did have something that was an automatic change every single time we filled out this ticket, maybe this was like initial update, ticket update, and it was always going to move into a particular status. I could do that down here because I could say that every time you run this form, I want to replace the status with this particular value. But in this case, we want to leave this a little bit open and always surface that information. So I'm going to hit Save Changes here. And if I move over to record selection whenever I'm creating forms, I can always select what I really need to see on the screen, as well as what particular items I need to see on the screen. So again, more than one way to solve a problem. Today, we're going to use one form to update the ticket every single time. But if you had different forms because you collected different information at each one of those stop points, then you would want to probably restrict which assets you could see. So for example, if I had all of my assets in to do and to move them from to do to in progress, I did that whenever I assigned it, then I would want to have a form for that assignment and only be able to apply that form to my tickets that were in the to do status. Once it was in progress, it can only go to blocked or completed. Therefore, I could never go from to do to blocked or to do to completed. I have to move it into that next step. That would be another reason why we might want to put on some filters or restrict assets in some way. But again, this update ticket, I love because we can use it across the board. Sometimes we just have to apply a little more context for our end users with use of our helper text or some of those field changes that we just did. And then we'll go ahead and hit save. And then one last thing I would want to do is I would want to share that role or share that form. Now I can share by role or I can share by users. So if I look at sharing this role, anybody at my admin level has access to this particular form. But maybe my collaborators are the people who are filling out this form. Just like that external service request custom permission that we made, maybe I have a custom permission that's going to be completing this form and this form only. So I would want to make sure that I'm sharing that form so they can see it in their Asset Panda platform. Once I do that, I would hit Save Changes, and then I would move into my preview where I can walk through that process either on a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile device so I can see what my end user would experience before I go ahead and make this form live. In this case, I feel pretty confident about this, so we're going to hit that Save Changes one more time, and we're going to go back over to our Tortoise Timber Construction and our ITAM module. We'll go into our service requests, and I'm going to take this first ticket right here that we're going to look at right here. So I'm going to say Update Ticket. I'm going to grab the first ticket to update it. I'm going to hit Continue, and I'm going to call this Ticket 1. I'm going to assign this ticket out to Penny. And the current status is going to stay in to do because it's assigned. And we're going to go ahead and hit submit on that. And we give it a second. The form has submitted. We see that toast notification there. And we will see just a bit of a update here in just a second. That's going to populate and we will see the SR number and then that ticket assignment. Now, what's nice about this is that we can use this particular. Let me just get that reset here for us. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. Just a second. My screen froze up on me, so bear with me for just a second. Let me stop my share. Let's see if I can get that to work. All right, so one of the things, sorry, well, I may have to give me 1 second as I get a hard refresh here. See if that gets my screen working again. There we go. It's working up now. One of the things I was going to say, and there we go, apologies there. My service request is in. I have that SR number in that ticket assignment. So whenever we run I'm sorry, that form's going to update that particular record for us. Now I can use that same form to update this as I go through my process. So let's now change hats. I'm Penny. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, hey, I'm taking this ticket out of the to-do stage and I'm going to start working on this. So I can come in here, I'm going to hit continue. And instead of to do, because notice that I am surfacing that information, I'm going to say that this ticket is in progress and I'm going to go ahead and submit. Now, once I submit this information, again, we're going to see that this status here is going to update here in just a second as that form starts to run. And one of the things that I'm just going to say here is that I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. Oh, we saw it there. It's in progress. So that ticket is now in progress, and we have the information that we need here to continue to push forward. Now, one thing that we could also add to that form might be ticket notes, because those ticket notes that would update here, we could show what wasn't working, and we could potentially append those ticket notes as well. So lots of things that we can do. I know we're nearing time, but lots of things that we can do with these service requests. Matthew, is there anything that you wanted to add before we wrap up here?
No, the last thing I just wanted to let everybody know on the call is that this is a 100% customizable system as you can see. So any of the collections and anything that you need to create forms, create collections for, and gather that information in here, Asset Panda can handle. So that's not only from service requests, but also to inventory stuff that I think Kelly might have some other power hours coming up on that. And always feel free to reach out to, your account manager to if you need any help on creating any of this stuff.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'll give you another chance to give some last minute questions and appreciate that close out there. But any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in here real quick. And other than that, I would say, like Matthew said, there's lots of power hours coming up where we can talk about some of those different workflows and configurability pieces. As you can see, even on the fly here, I was able to add fields. If I decided that, hey, I wanted to change that form, maybe I want to add those ticket notes to it. I realized that was a mistake. I should have those on there. I can come in right here, right now in that form build, and I can add those ticket notes to my form, hit the save changes. And the next time Penny comes in to update that particular asset, so when she comes in here to service requests and says, hey, I want to update my ticket, I'm going to say that this ticket's moving into the completed stage and hits continue. I see the ticket notes that the port isn't working now. So I can come in here and say, hey, Kate, or I guess we'll say Penny is saying, um, port is working, replaced prongs or something along those lines, and then hit submit. Now, one of the other really key pieces that is always kind of nice to mention too is what that history looks like. Maybe we want to know a history of all of the service tickets an asset may have had. Maybe we want to see some of that more historical type reporting. And and I didn't change my in progress. Penny forgot to do that because she was thinking ahead a little bit on this. But if you come back into your activity stream, you can also go into your forms logs. So you can see a history of all the forms anytime we did that update ticket. But because we link to those records as well, if you come into that ITAM and we go back to those assets, and we know that this was the docking station that we were looking at, if I open this asset up into my full details, I can look at my linked records here. So I can see how many service requests were run on this particular asset over time. So I'll be able to see all those linked records with this asset on it, because what I'll do is keep all of these service requests here as they move into completed. I can create a save view where I'm saying I only want to see assets in the status that's any of to do, in progress, or completed, or I'm sorry, blocked, not completed. And go ahead and apply that. And that means that my save view, when I save this, these are open tickets. and I can hit save, but my closed tickets don't go away. They're just hidden out of my view. So I can sort and I can filter them out, but they still exist in the system. So I would still see all of those completed ticket records against that asset from a historical perspective, which is really nice when it comes time to make a decision. Are we buying a new asset or repairing this? Because how many times have we already done this? Okay, quick question. The pie charts, does everyone have access to pull reports or create the dashboard? So at a collaborator level, if we look at roles and permissions, at a collaborator level, which is the lowest level, they can view dashboards, but they cannot create dashboards. So anybody at an admin level will be able to create dashboards as well as view them, but your collaborators can only view. Now, if you are in 2.0 today and you've created a dashboard, and your user cannot see the dashboard that you have created. It is possible that they are not at the same permission level as you, and that dashboard might be hidden from their view. So let's take a look at that real quick because I think that's a really, really interesting point too when we talk about dashboards. So here's my dashboard management, and I have this little share button over here. When I click share, you can see that I can share this by email with a particular person, or I can share by roles. So if I wanted to share this with a particular account role or a particular person, I would want to do that through the dashboard sharing. And you, as the owner of the dashboard, you own that dashboard. They can look at it and they can see the information you want them to see, but they cannot make changes to it. Users have to make their own dashboards. I mean, they can view yours, but they can't change yours. You own it. It's great. So, you control what they see on that one. Awesome. Great. Well, folks, I hope you learned something today. I hope you had a chance to dive into those to the depths that you would like to see them. If you have questions, you can always contact our 24/7 support at assetpanda.com. You also have the capability of accessing support through our resource center right inside the platform and clicking email support. This will use your email client to generate an email to Asset Panda support directly. If you have questions about the 2.0 platform, you can always contact support as well to get you pointed in the right direction. But you can also contact info@assetpanda.com if you'd like a more in-depth demo or to look at it to see specifically how Asset Panda can help you with your specific use case. So I'm going to wrap up here for today, but I hope to see you at our next Panda Pit Stop or Power Hour. Have a great day, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.